We will build a global Britain where we will walk tall in the world with more, not less, of a presence on the international stage. A modern Britain where we will embrace diversity as a strength. An enterprising Britain where we will be proud of our scientists, our inventors and our entrepreneurs. A prosperous Britain where we will live within our means and growth comes from every corner of this nation. A healthier Britain where we can care for people throughout their lives. A better educated Britain where every child and young person has the opportunity to succeed, no matter where they came from or who their parents are.
Hello, my son, I love you. I love you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for that welcome. And can I welcome my mum? You saw her in that video. And she is here today for her first conference. You know, 20 years ago, Mum thought it was a big deal when she watched the first Asians move into Coronation Street here in Manchester. Well, now she's watched the first Asians move into Downing Street. Once again, we're living above the shop, but I'm so happy to make her proud. Mummy तो कभी सोचा सी आप इतने होंगे, Daddy shop and इतने हुंदी सी. Sorry, that's between us. I forgot you were there. Just trying to make her comfortable. Now, it might be my mum's first Tory conference, but I've been now coming for over 30 years. And every year, we talk about what's at stake for our country. But never in my lifetime has there been a political moment like this. We will be remembered for how we respond, and we will do our duty responsibly, firmly, and democratically. Now that starts with getting Brexit done. We are leaving the European Union. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of days. 31 days, deal or no deal. Now, we understand that preparing to leave without a deal is not only the responsible thing to do, but also the best way of leaving with a deal. You know, in all my years of negotiating multi-billion-pound international deals, I never once walked into a room without being able to walk away. And that's why on my very first day as Chancellor, I gave a speech to the Treasury about making no-deal preparations my top priority. And a few days later, I doubled funding for it, taking our Brexit spending to a total of £4 billion this year. And to give organisations and devolved administrations certainty for the year ahead, in the event of a no-deal, I have now agreed to guarantee all £4.3 billion of EU-directed funding that they would have been expecting. Now, that doesn't mean that a no deal would be without significant challenges. I know that some businesses and households, they are concerned about what a no deal outcome might mean for them. I recognise that, and I understand the uncertainty around Brexit can be challenging. But our step change in preparations has made a deal outcome more likely and a no deal outcome more manageable. Every department now has the resources available to prepare for no deal. That means more border force staff, better transport infrastructure at our ports, more support for business readiness. I've tasked the Treasury with preparing a comprehensive economic response to support the economy. Working closely with the Bank of England, we're ready to draw on the full armoury of economic policy if needed. And the bank has already revised its assessments because of the actions that we've already taken. So, deal or no deal, we will be ready. All that is important. But Brexit is not just something to manage or to mitigate. We understand this is ultimately a question about trust in our democracy. A strong economy can only be built on the foundations of a successful democracy. And by definition, democracy isn't just for when it suits you. Like the Lib Dems, who called for a referendum for years and then sort of changed their mind. Then they said they would respect the result. Then they sort of didn't. Then called for a second vote. Then changed their mind again. And now they want to somehow pretend that the whole thing never happened. Going back on your promises to the British people isn't liberal, and it certainly isn't democratic. And then there's the Labour Party. They're so split down the middle that not even their leader and their shadow chancellor can agree on whether they support Brexit or not. So, guess what? They're going to hold another referendum with two options. Perhaps and maybe. What a leader. A man for the many Brexit positions, not the few. What they don't seem to understand is that millions of people voted in good faith over 3 years ago. It was the biggest exercise in democracy our country has ever seen. And they always forget one group of voters. That's the millions who voted not to leave the EU, but now completely respect the result and want us to get on with Brexit. Yes, there are splits of opinion and strong views on all sides. I get that. But I passionately believe that we need to heal the divisions in our society. The way to do that isn't to carry on arguing about Brexit forever and ever and ever. It is to finally deliver on the original decision and move the whole country forward. People talk a lot about the risks of Brexit. Some are understandable, some not. But the truth is this, and I don't think it is acknowledged as often as it should be. The most reckless course of all would be not to deliver Brexit at all. If we fail to deliver on the instruction of the British people, we are in danger of tearing the very fabric of our democracy. A fabric that has been carefully woven together over centuries. And if we do that, I fear that we may not be able to stitch it up again. If people are going to have faith in the ballot box, then we absolutely have to follow through on that vote. No more second guessing, no best of three. One vote, one mandate, one nation moving forwards together. Now, as we get Brexit done and leave the EU, it's the right time to ask ourselves some big questions. Who are we as a country? How do we see ourselves in the years ahead? How will we shape the economy for the future? Last week, we saw Labour's answers to those questions. Jeremy Corbyn sees this as an opportunity to bring in nationalisation, protectionism, and state control. And let's be in no doubt about the biggest threat to the UK economy. Whenever I speak to businesses and international investors, the number one concern they always raise is not the form of our exit from the EU. The real project to be fearful about is the agenda of the Labour Party. If they had their way, whole sectors of our economy would be renationalised. People's taxes would rise to the crippling levels of the past. People's jobs would be put at risk because of sectoral pay bargaining. The return of trade union militancy would once again hold the government to ransom, wasting hundreds and billions of pounds and hitting families and businesses up and down the country. The British Chambers of Commerce said just last week about Labour's plans, they said they will send an icy chill up the spines of businesses and owners everywhere. And it's no wonder. We have a shadow chancellor who says that businesses are the real enemy and openly admits that he wants to overthrow capitalism. Now, given how much damage they do every single day that they're in office, I'm glad they say they would only be working 4 days a week. Now, when I arrived to the Treasury, I did have a letter waiting for me on my desk, but it didn't say that there was no money left. That's because we took the difficult decisions needed to get the deficit down by 4/5. We have now taken back control of our financial destiny, just as we take back control of our laws and our borders. It's easy to forget just how bad things were when we first came in. Labour lost control of our public finances, as they always do. And that was when they still believed in the basics of capitalism. Our country borrowed £150 billion in their last year in office, the highest level in our peacetime history. And it fell to the Conservatives once again to wipe up their mess. And I'd like to pay tribute to both my immediate predecessors for their role in that. We may disagree on our approach to Brexit, but as Conservatives, we can be very proud of what they helped us achieve. Labour left behind a bankrupt Britain, and we fixed it. Now, they don't like to hear it, but when the opposition stop hiding from that election, I promise you it won't be like last time. We won't shy away from talking about our hard-earned record on the economy. And we won't shy away from telling everyone about the threat that their divisive, backwards, bankrupt, immoral, incompetent, ideological experiments will pose for everyone's way of life. They try to claim that the only alternative is a race to the bottom. That's what they say. They say, let's let everyone fend for themselves. No, that's not conservatism. I'm not sure it's anyone's kind of conservatism. If we're going to be forging ahead with our positive one nation vision for our country's future. We believe in levelling up, skilling up, and opening up, embracing talent from around the world. And as we look towards our future outside the EU, I'm very optimistic that we can build on our extraordinary economic strengths and reshape the British economy to seize the opportunities that this new chapter has to offer. We'll be able to pursue a genuinely independent trade policy. We'll be able to replace inefficient EU programs with better homegrown alternatives. And from retail to green tech, we'll have the opportunity to design smarter, more flexible regulation. Now, to help us do that, I will launch a Brexit red tape challenge to help identify EU regulations that we can improve or remove, liberating our entrepreneurs, small businesses and consumers from the burden of an overbearing bureaucracy wherever we see it, doing what a good pro-business government always does. After the decade of recovery from the last Labour government, we are now bringing in a decade of renewal. With this government's new leadership, we have the opportunity to hit fast forward on that renewal. It is an opportunity the Prime Minister and I are seizing. We're not just neighbours, or even sometimes dog sitters. We are partners. We share the same determination on Brexit, the same vision of one nation conservatism, and we both spend about the same amount of time brushing our hair. Our vision is based on the people's priorities, and these are based on conservative principles. Conservatives understand that a dynamic free market is the only way you can fund world-class public services. You know, for me, like so many people around our country, public services were my lifelines. The teachers who made my career possible. The police officers who kept us safe when the street I grew up on became a centre for drug dealers. The NHS that cared for my father in his final days. These aren't just numbers on a spreadsheet. They are the beating heart of our country. And that's why public services are at the heart of this government's agenda. Earlier this month, I announced our spending plans for Britain's first year outside the EU. A new economic plan for a new era. Thanks to the hard work of the British people and our responsible economic management, we are able to invest an extra £13.4 billion in public services. The spending round will make a real difference to people's lives. And that includes recruiting 20,000 new police officers, restoring our rightful reputation as the party of law and order. Increased funding for every school in the country and a renaissance in further education. Continuing our record investment in the NHS and making a large down payment on social care. These are the people's priorities, and these are our priorities, and it's our Conservative government that is delivering them. But Brexit was a wake-up call that we needed to be better connected, both across our country and beyond our shores. Now, one of the things I remember most about my international career is the energy you can feel in places like Southeast Asia. The quick turnaround from vision to implementation, from new homes to airports. It echoes our industrial revolution of the Victorian era, which laid the foundations for over a century, from the railway network to the electric telegraph. That's the spirit we need to rekindle in Britain. But the truth is, successive governments have failed to invest enough for the long term. Now, we've started to put that right, but we can do more, a lot more. This government is going to build Britain's future and bring in an infrastructure revolution. You see, infrastructure is the foundation of everything. It's the new road that connects our local communities, the bus that you need to take to school, and the broadband that helps small businesses trade with others around the world. The full benefits of our infrastructure revolution may not be felt for some time, but the work must start here and now. So today I can announce the first wave of this revolution. Don't worry, it's a good kind of revolution. Our roads are the arteries of our country. We will soon launch the new roads investment strategy, with £29 billion committed to strategic and local roads over the next 5 years. And today we are getting the shovels out early on several important road projects, including upgrading the nearby M60 Sinister Island. Good, that's popular. Dueling the A66 Transpennine. All right. And starting work on the A428 between Cambridge and Milton Keynes. Now buses. They haven't been given the attention they deserve from politicians. That's what I think. But they are still the backbone of the public transport, actually in most of our country. Well, now, you have a Chancellor with a well-known family connection to buses. Right, Mum? And a PM who likes to paint them. At the spending round, we allocated £220 million to buses alone. This will form part of a national bus strategy next year, rolling out new super bus networks, expanding our fleet of low-emission buses, and delivering better value for money for passengers. And last but not least, connecting us to the modern global digital economy with gigabit broadband. We have rolled out super-fast broadband, but we have fallen behind many European countries on the next generation technology. And as we catch up, I don't want any part of our country to feel left behind. So I can announce today that we are committing £5 billion to support full fibre rollout to the hardest to reach 20% of our country. Yeah. All of these measures will level up areas of our country that feel left out. Now, there will be 3 principles that will underpin our approach to the infrastructure revolution. First, we will be smart and responsible in the way we invest for the long term. We can do this by taking advantage of incredibly low interest rates and borrowing to build, not borrowing to waste like the Labour years. Second, we will have a bias towards anything that brings our country together. For a start, that means protecting our United Kingdom. You know, I'd like to pay tribute to Ruth Davidson for all that she did to prevent a socialist separatist alliance from running and ruining our country. Thank you, Ruth. bringing our country together also means rebalancing our economy. And that's why the first policy decision of this government was to support the development of Northern Powerhouse Rail. And we know it's no good just decreeing from on high what local areas need. Too many people, they already feel that power is distant to them, whether it's coming from Brussels or Westminster. So I can announce today that we will bring forward a white paper on further devolution in England, giving more local powers to local people in all areas around the country to drive investments in infrastructure and services that they know that they need. Now, we already have 4 brilliant Conservative Metro mayors. Let's get one in Manchester too. How about that? And third, we will take a dynamic, market-driven approach to driving down our carbon emissions. Not only are we the first large economy to commit to net zero by 2050, last week at the UN General Assembly, our Prime Minister committed to doubling Britain's funding for global environmental and climate change programs. They are the approaches that we will be taking to building Britain's future. And with so much at stake for our country right now, I'm impatient to get on with it. We have achieved so much in just 10 weeks. And I'd like to thank my brilliant ministerial team in the Treasury, Rishi Sunak, Jesse Norman, John Glenn, Simon Clarke, and our parliamentary team, Rachel McLean, Lee Rowley, and Mike Freer, for all that they do. Thank you very much. The final Conservative principle that I want to talk about today is this. We believe in a society where everyone knows that if they work hard and they play by the rules, then they will have every opportunity to succeed. They are our values. It's our mission to help people to get a job, to get a home, and to get ahead. But we do have to acknowledge that not everyone in every part of our country feels that they have all the opportunities that they should have. Not all parents feel that their children will have it better than they did. We need to do more to level the playing field between regions and generations and give all young people the very best start in life. Last year, I announced the Youth Endowment Fund, helping at-risk young people get off the conveyor belt to crime. And I can announce today a new Youth Investment Fund. This ambitious £500 million programme will roll out youth centres and services right across the country, helping millions more young people get on the conveyor belt to a better life and a better career. And of course, one of the biggest concerns for the next generation is being able to buy a home, to claim their stake in society. We're on track to increase housing supply to its highest level since 1970. But I know from my time as Housing Secretary that we need to do so much more. And the accelerated planning proposals that Robert has announced today are just the start. So, getting ahead, getting a home. The best way to achieve both of those things is getting a good job. On our watch, 1,000 extra people have gone into work every day since 2010. And this applies to all corners of the country, with most of those new jobs being created outside London and the South East. 150,000 more people are in employment in Greater Manchester alone. And you know, whenever I meet my counterparts in Europe, they all ask me, how are we doing it? Real wages and household incomes are rising, putting more money in people's pockets. And with full employment and strong finances, we are now in a position to see what more we can do to help workers and reduce the cost of living. In 2016, we introduced the national living wage, giving Britain's workers the biggest pay rise in 2 decades. In April, we increased the rate again, making 1.8 million workers better off, putting the number of low-paid workers at its lowest level in 4 decades. Today, I'm delighted to announce that we will be taking this much further. Over the next 5 years, we will make the UK one of the first major economies in the world to end low pay altogether. To do that, I am setting a new target for the national living wage, raising it to match 2/3 of median earnings. That means, on current forecasts, this ambitious plan will bring the national living wage up to £10.50, giving 4 million people a well-earned pay rise. And to help the next generation of go-getters get ahead, we will reward the hard work of millennials too, by bringing down the age threshold for the national living wage to cover all workers over the age of 21. The hard work of the British people really is paying off. And it's clear that it's the Conservatives who are the real party of Labour. We are the Workers' Party. Delivering Brexit, boosting public services, backing enterprise and hard work, and bringing our country together by levelling up across the nation and across generations. That's the direction we will be setting for our country. And that's what will be an offer at the next election, a decade of renewal or a decade of reversal. We in this room are today's representatives of the most successful party in the Western world, an institution that has helped to build Britain for over 2 centuries. And now, in 2019, we have a duty to see the country through the challenges ahead. We are the only party that can get Brexit done. We are the only party that can call ourselves Democrats. And we are the only party that will truly deliver for workers. We are the Conservative and Unionist Party, and we will unite this country. We are a responsible one-nation party that focuses on what we have in common, not what divides us. We believe in building on the very best of the past, not just putting up with modern Britain, but embracing it, saying loud and clear that we love our country. We are a welcoming, tolerant and fair society, the most successful multiracial democracy in the world. We are an open, global trading nation, one of the most prosperous in the world. And we are a compassionate, caring country, not just for those that are close to home, but for some of the poorest people in the world. That's who we are as a party. That's who we are as a country. And that's what we are delivering for our great country. Thank you. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you. Oh, thank you. Thank you all very much. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Hey.
Thank you.